Hello, welcome back to yet another cinematic gameplay. Today we are finally doing Marvel United. I'm going to be doing a solo game today controlling three heroes, which are Captain America, Black Widow, and Iron Man versus Red Skull according to the team voted on Patreon. So if you want to join me on Patreon and vote on some polls, get involved with some behind the scenes stuff, then I will leave a link to that down below. And now, let's play Marvel United. Now, a couple things before we start. Since it is a solo game today and I'm controlling three heroes, that means Red Skull is going to have the amount of health according to three players playing. So in this case, he's going to have 8 health markers shown here. Because this is also a very wide range game, I'm trying to squish everything so they fit into frame as well. Now here's how the game works. First off, we're gonna draw the Master Plan card from Red Skull. In this case, we draw a 1 space movement. So Red Skull is going to move clockwise in this direction. And then he's gonna activate his BAM effect. So we're gonna go from top to bottom. So he moved 1 space over and then we're activating his BAM effect. A BAM effect is essentially a special. So in this case, he's going to deal 1 damage to each hero in Red Skull's location and increase the fear track by 2. Luckily, there are no heroes currently over here in Central Park. All my heroes are in the Avengers Mansion. That's good. So we're gonna skip the BAM, but then the next part says we're going to put civilians in all of those tiles. The central tile is where Red Skull is located. So we'll start with that first. So we have 2 civilians here, but the thing is there's only 1 spot for a civilian. And as a side note, I also got some little upgrades too for these civilian tokens. I'll leave a link to the Etsy shop down below. So this one I placed over here. And next, because this spot is entirely filled up, Red Skull is going to activate his overflow effect. In this case, it says if a civilian token or a thug token can be added to a location, increase the fear track by 1 for each token that you couldn't add. So in this case, it gets added by 1. So villainous plot moves up by 1. If villainous plot moves up to 20, then I automatically lose. Next, I'm gonna add in 1 civilian to the left and 1 civilian to the right. So 1 goes here and another 1 goes over here. So this card is done and can be put in the timeline. And then now it is time for the Avengers to fight back. So I'm drawing 5 cards on my hand. Typically you draw only 3 cards and are controlling 1 hero. But since I'm playing solo, 3 heroes, 5 cards. So I need to clear up all these locations on this side because if Red Skull keeps activating his overflow effect, we're gonna have a problem. So first I'm going to draw a card. So this is the very first card that I've drawn. And then next I would like to play my favorite hero, Iron Man, who has 2 wild tokens. So this gets put on the timeline. So Iron Man can do anything he wants, so he's going to move over here first. And then I'm gonna use my second wild action to rescue a civilian to put here. Now I'm not totally sure on solo ruling, but I would assume that you do draw a card after playing a hero every turn. So I'm gonna draw a card. I draw Captain America, and now I can use the previous card that was played. So Iron Man has 2 wild tokens, which means I can use those. I'm gonna play Black Widow. The green arrow means I can move, so I'm gonna move over here. And then I'm gonna use Iron Man's wild to move again over here. And now I have 2 actions left. I have the heroic action and I have 1 more wild. So I'm gonna use 1 to rescue another civilian. And then I'm gonna use the heroic action to help clear this threat. So I'm gonna place the star right here. And that's my second turn. Then I'm gonna draw another card. Ooh, that's what I'm talking about. So now we get another double wild. So I'm gonna play this right away. Black Widow, double wild. So every turn you get to use the actions used by your previous hero. In this case, it was Black Widow's movement and the heroic action. And then you get to use on top of that, the card that you played this turn. You can also use it in any order you like. So with Black Widow, I'm gonna put a heroic action here. And I'm gonna put 1 more using this wild. So now I've cleared this threat entirely. And that means I've now unlocked a location bonus. So if I'm on this tile at the end of my turn, I can move up to 2 civilians or 2 thugs to other locations. That's not too helpful right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and move Black Widow 1 more space over here. And with the wild action, I'm gonna rescue another civilian. And that is pretty much your solo turn order. You're gonna play 3 cards and then it's back to Red Skull. So Red Skull draws, bam, and literally gets another bam. So now this one says Red Skull doesn't move at all, but he activates his BAM ability. So we'll place that there. Red Skull doesn't move, and then again, bam, deals 1 damage to each hero at Red Skull's location. But luckily, Black Widow's moved from there, so there's no damage done. We're doing good so far. I've actually lost a couple times against Red Skull already, so surprisingly, we're doing pretty good. Back to my turn, so I draw a card. And I've drawn Iron Man, movement, and heroic action, but I want to attack the Agent of Hydra where Iron Man is. So I'm going to use this card. And with those 2 fighting actions, I can now remove 2 of these tokens from the Agent of Hydra. He has 2 more left before I clear that threat. So there are 2 typical ways to clear threats. One is to use the heroic action, which is the yellow star token. And the second way is to fight the henchman that location has. In this case, Iron Man fought the Agent of Hydra, removing 2 of his health tokens, and he has 2 left. But the turn isn't over because I still have those 2 wild tokens. So guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna clear this threat and get rid of the Agent of Hydra. So he's now gone. But I also take 1 crisis token because that's the Agent of Hydra's effect, which says heroes starting in this location would gain 1 crisis token. So that threat has been cleared, and I can move this threat over here to the cleared threat section. I forgot to move this one over here as well. So now we have 2 threats cleared and 2 more threats to go in order to clear the threat mission shown here in purple. And we have now unlocked another location effect. So the New York Police Headquarters says you may discard 1 thug from any location. So the police are helping us out here. I'm gonna take 1 away from Red Skull's location. So that's Iron Man. And then we move on. Next turn, we draw a Wild Black Widow token. It is time to activate my first hero ability, and that is coming from Black Widow, which is called Interrogate. So Black Widow, her effect reads, I can look at the top card of the Master Plan deck and I can place it at the bottom. But with that, we'll play that on the timeline and look at the top card here. So this one isn't bad. It doesn't activate any special abilities. He's just going to summon more thugs in adjacent locations. I'll leave that there. Now that Black Widow has interrogated Red Skull and we figured out a little bit of his master plan, we can adjust accordingly. So I'm gonna use Iron Man's 2 attack abilities to remove these thugs over here. And she has 1 more attack left, so I'm gonna go ahead and take 1 token away from Crossbones. Let's deal some damage to Crossbones in the meantime. And then we draw into Captain America with a double wild. I'm gonna use Iron Man. So this one says he can use 2 heroic actions, which means I can rescue 2 civilians from this location. And then I can use Black Widow's previous attack to get rid of this thug as well. And lastly, when I end my turn, I can discard 1 thug from any location, so I will take a thug from his location over here. Now, surprise, surprise, Red Skull is going to activate his master plan, but we know exactly what's coming. Boom! So he's going to move, oh, I forgot he's gonna move. Okay, so he's gonna move 1 space clockwise. So Red Skull is going to move over here. Now this target icon means he's going to activate a threat, but luckily we cleared the threat from that location. There are no threats in the police headquarters, but he is going to summon a thug over here. He's gonna summon 2 thugs at the police headquarters. And he's gonna summon 1 more thug over here at the Avengers Mansion. So not too bad. Also, how are you liking all the upgraded tokens? They're pretty cool, huh? They're also way easier to grab than the cardboard ones. Okay, moving on, we're gonna draw a card. We draw into Black Widow double heroic action. So the previous move was Iron Man's double heroic, and that's only gonna come in handy really over here in Times Square. So I need to move Captain America over here, which means I'm gonna play Captain America's double wild card. So this gets played on the timeline. It's time to use the very first Avenger. So Captain America's gonna move over here to Times Square. That uses 1 wild action. And then I'm gonna use the double heroics from Iron Man to, let's go ahead and rescue these civilians. And I have 1 more wild left. So I'm gonna put a heroic action here on Subversion. Next turn, I draw Iron Man double attack, which is perfect for the location he's in. So I'll play double attack, get rid of both of these thugs. So this mission is almost done. And with the double wild from Captain America last time, I'm gonna move Iron Man over here. Let's go ahead and rescue 1 more civilian. And since Iron Man is currently in Central Park's ability says, at the end of this turn, I can move these 2 tokens to any other location. So I'm gonna move these over here to Captain America so he can clear that on his turn without moving. Now, next up, we draw into Black Widow movement and attack. Oh, this is perfect because now I can play Captain America double heroic. So here we have a double heroic. Bam, that gets played. Double heroic and a double attack from Iron Man. So double attack first, we're gonna clear these two thugs. That means the first mission has been cleared to defeat the thugs here. So these are gone. So this mission has been complete, which means now the game is going to crank it up a notch. So now I can only play 2 actions, and then Red Skull is gonna play Master Plan after every 2 turns versus 3 turns. The ultimate goal here is to attack Red Skull, but you can't attack the villain until you've cleared at least 2 missions. So 1 mission down. If I rescue 1 more civilian, then we are in good shape. Okay, so I used the double attack from Iron Man, and then I still have double heroics over here with Cap. So I'm gonna rescue that final civilian with 1 of them. So this is also cleared as well. And now we can finally attack Captain America's ultimate villain, arch nemesis, Red Skull. We are all clear to attack, but I still have 1 more heroic action left. So I'm gonna add in 1 more heroic action here on Subversion. Okay, back to Red Skull. So we draw Red Skull and he goes 3 spaces clockwise and then summons all of these civilians. So 3 spaces, 1, 2, and 3. He ends up over here at the Avengers Tower. And then 2 civilians go here. Ooh, that was a close one. We almost activated his overflow ability. And then 1 civilian here and here. Now I know it's a bit out of frame, but this card's gonna go right up top. My previous card was Captain America's double heroic actions, which won't come in handy as much now since we can now attack Red Skull. And then we draw into Iron Man with just 1 heroic action. Not the best draw right now. We are in a little bit of a bind. We do need to clear some civilians because if Red Skull activates his overflow ability again, he's going to increase the fear track by a lot. But right now, if you're taking a look at my hand, I have 1 wild, but I have heroic actions, I have 1 attack over here, and then move heroic, and then heroic. So I have nothing but heroic actions, and we need to attack Red Skull now. I think the best thing that I can do right now is to play Black Widow and use her 1 wild token. So I have Black Widow with a wild, and I have Captain America with double heroics. Those are my 3 available actions. I'm gonna get Black Widow to square face to face with Red Skull, move her over here with my wild action, and then I'm gonna use double heroics to clear these civilians. And I only get 1 more action this time, so I'm hoping for some attacks here. Let's go! Black Widow, double attacks, that's what I'm flipping talking about. So there we go, we have double attacks and we have a wild. I'm just gonna go all out on Red Skull. So 3 attacks directly from Black Widow. 1, 2, and 3 health tokens removed from Red Skull. He now has, I think, 5 left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left before he's taken out. Now that's it for my move. Moving back to Red Skull, and we get Hail Hydra. So he doesn't move any spaces at all, but in turn, it says discard all civilians from locations with heroes and deal 1 damage to each of those heroes. Also advance the fear track by the number of civilians discarded this way. That's gonna leave a pretty big dent. So with that, he doesn't move, but Black Widow's here. So this gets discarded. This gets discarded. Luckily, Iron Man is in an empty location. Since 2 civilians were discarded, that means I also take 2 damage, and damage in this game is applied this way. I lose 2 cards from my hand. I'm gonna get rid of Iron Man's single heroic action card. So this one's gonna go. And I'm also gonna take out Black Widow's double heroic action as well. So those are my 2 damage, and then he moves up twice on the fear track, 1, 2. But it's okay, now we need to chase down Red Skull. So I'm gonna play Captain America, Leadership, and his ability says I can add a wild token to my pool of heroes. I also didn't draw a card this turn, so I'll go ahead and draw this one, which is a wild for Iron Man. I take a wild token, which I have here, and then I can perform a heroic action. I'm gonna clear this threat. And then it says at the end of the turn, you may rescue 1 civilian from this location, but that's not going to be helpful currently. This threat goes over here. And then I still have 2 attack tokens, but I'm gonna use my wild so I can move Captain America over to Red Skull. So there's that wild action. Now normally with Captain America and with Iron Man, they give you tokens that you can pass on to other players, but since I'm playing solo, I would assume that other players are you, so I think I can use that wild token in that way. Captain America is gonna move over here and then use those last 2 attacks from Black Widow to attack Red Skull directly. Takes 2 damage. 3 to go, and we are done. Now I have 1 more turn left. So I'm gonna draw a card and we draw Iron Man movement. So we have a heroic action again from the last turn. I need to get Iron Man over here. I'm just gonna leave Iron Man here in case Red Skull moves on over this way clockwise. So I'll leave him there. And let's try to do some damage with Black Widow and get some mobility going. So I'm gonna play Black Widow, and this one says to move and attack, and also have heroic action from Captain America last time. First, I'm gonna attack Red Skull. Takes 1 more damage. He has 2 damage left. And then I have a movement and a heroic action. I'm going to move Black Widow this way and a heroic action, so I'm gonna rescue one of these civilians. And that's our turn. Going back to Red Skull. Oh, I called it. There we go. So he's going to move clockwise twice. So 1 and 2. And then he activates his BAM effect and then summons all of those civilians. So we'll place this here. And first, BAM effect. So deal 1 damage to each hero in Red Skull's location. But Iron Man's gonna take 1 damage. I'm gonna discard this one for damage. And then increase the fear track by 2. So he goes to 5. Next, he's going to summon 2 civilians here. He's also gonna summon 1 civilian in adjacent locations. And 1 over here. That's his turn and done. Then I draw a card. We draw into Captain America, double heroic. How fitting for good old Cap, but we're gonna end this with my favorite hero because here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna play Iron Man's Wild token on the timeline. This card gets played here. I have a movement and I have an attack from Black Widow. So as you can guess, I'm gonna use attack from Black Widow from the previous turn to attack Red Skull, 1 damage. And I'm gonna use my Wild to remove that last and final damage. And that, my friends, is game. That's what I'm talking about. Red Skull is down. Iron Man delivers the final blow to Red Skull. And that is the cinematic gameplay of Marvel United. Stay tuned, there are gonna be tons more cinematic gameplay of Marvel United. I'm so excited about this game. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.